right. One of the comprehension strategies that we're going to work with today, and one that we have worked with before, is thinking tracks. So thinking tracks, as you will remember, is us just being cognitively aware of what we're thinking as we're reading. So you're just listening to your inner voice. You're having an inner conversation with yourself. Okay, so let's review just a few minutes about how we do this. Okay, we talked about connections. Okay, we talked a lot about when we're reading, I want you to get involved with the character that you're reading about. I want you to connect to something that has happened in the book. You can do text to self, so you yourself is relating to something. I know we've talked before when we've been reading, people have related and connected to text. That's when you read something and you say, hey, Ms. Greathouse, remember when we read? She did, and you're connecting to something that you have previously read. Text to world is just reading something and you being able to know that this is happening in the world, or, well, I read this and, oh, this is kind of like, okay, and so you're connecting. It can be history. So you're making a connection to the world outside. Questions. You can't read a book and not have questions. Okay, we've read several books where the book is full of questions. Your question is, why did the character do that? Or why didn't she do this? Or for clarification, you read something and you don't understand something. That's where that note goes. I'm not really sure what's going on here. I'm confused. That is your inner voice telling you that something is just not quite right and you need to investigate further. Comments or aha moments. When we're reading that book and you talk to the character. How many of you talk to the movies when you go to the movies and you talk to the character? Okay. Yes, and you just got to tell them all that. Okay. Same thing in a book. When you read and a character makes you angry or you're sad and you relate, all those things are comments. Okay. You make predictions. You think that something is going to happen. Or you wonder, you have those wonder statements. I wonder if she's going to. Okay, those are all inner conversations. How about when you get that clarification? When in chapter 1 you're reading and you have tons of little stickies, and then in chapter 4 you go, that's why she did that. So now you're making clarification sticky notes that are answering those questions that you previously had. Visual. If you read something, some authors give you very vivid, detailed words that you pop off the page or give you that, or you can smell it, or you can see it, or you can hear it. So, we want to make note and put stickies of something that really caught our eye, our attention visually. Okay, so we're going to practice a little bit. I'm going to model first. I'm going to model for you my inner conversation when we read this piece. But I want you to kind of read along with me. So there's a passage in your basket. Go ahead and make sure everyone gets one that can see. And what I'm going to do at this point, I don't want you to do anything but just kind of follow along and listen to me talk about what I'm thinking as I'm reading. So you're going to get a little peek into Miss Greathouse's inner conversation. Okay? So, the title is the first thing we always read. So, I escaped a violent gang, a memoir as told by Katie Bailey. So, I know that it's going to be about a gang. So, which piques my interest because I've read a lot of books recently about gangs. So, let's start. Gang members don't snitch on each other. That is the motto I was raised on. I wonder if the motto is the same thing as a saying. Like my grandma used to have sayings. I wonder if motto is kind of the same thing. I was raised on, my dad went to jail for something he didn't do because he wouldn't turn in a brother. So when I was called to the witness stand that fateful summer day, I was planning to lie. I'm not sure that I could go to jail for somebody else, especially if it's not family. Maybe if it was my children, but I'm not really sure if it's just a brother. So, let's see if he does. Paco, my main man from Latino gang, was on trial. I had seen him shoot and kill a teenage boy. John, a member of a rival African American gang, was also on trial. John was completely innocent. I bet that they're trying to blame this wrong guy. And he's the one, he has to testify. The lawyers started asking me questions. I saw Paco sitting confidently at the defendant's table. He was calm because he was sure that I would lie. I looked at John, and then I looked at John's mother. She was crying. I'm not really sure that I could convince and lie about something when I know that he's not guilty and didn't have to watch his mom cry. That's kind of sad. Okay? So do you get the feel of how I was just carrying on a conversation with myself as I was reading? Okay, and if I was doing sticky notes, I don't want that big, long conversation that I had. I could condense that down. And my sticky note could say, when I talked about I'm not sure that I could go to jail for someone, my sticky note could said, I'm not really sure I could do that. What kind of, if I was referenced back here, what did I make? I made a connection. What kind of connection? I made a self connection, a text to self. I thought about, could I really do that? And if I could do it, the only reason I think I could do it would be for my kids. Do you have kids? No. So that would not be the same connection, but could you connect to having to lie for somebody? Can you think of a friend that you would lie for and go to jail for? Okay, that's a connection. That's you connecting with a character. Why is it important to connect to a character?
So you can know what they're feeling. How they're feeling.
So you get the feel. What's another reason why it's important to connect to something that you're reading on your character? Oh, very good. Have you ever picked up a book and read and not had a connection with a character? What happens? It's not interesting. You don't get it. What happens to the book? What do you usually do to the book? You put it down. You don't read it. But if you pick up a good book and you make that immediate connection with the book character, or how about a situation in the book? Okay, maybe this situation intrigued you. You connected to it. You know somebody that's in a gang, or you know someone, but you make that connection. Would you continue to read it? Yes. It makes your comprehension more when you make an emotional investment in what you're reading. Okay? Did I have any questions? What was my question? It's really his brother? Also, motto. Have you ever heard the word motto? I had heard it, but I always remember my grandmother had sayings. You know, if you do this, just sayings that she would have. And I just kind of wondered if that was kind of the same thing. So, vocabulary makes me question. Did I have any comments? Did I talk to the character? A little bit. I was talking about that. I'm not really sure how he could sit there and look at someone's mother crying, knowing that he was going to send her child to jail for something that he didn't do. So you get a feel for what the inner conversation does. I want you to practice. I want us just to practice a few minutes. So I left off at I, which is the last paragraph. How about you read the next two paragraphs? And we're not going to use stickies at this point, but I want you to write in the margins any connections that you make, any questions that you have, any comments that you have. And I want you to be ready to share them with your group. So I'm going to give you just a few minutes to read that. All right, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. I want you to share some of your thoughts with your group.
I became I'm in a position that he's going to go up to her and talk to her because he felt like he was fed and he's saying that was something that was confidence in him.
What was your first connection?
We made him think about his mother.
What do you think made him think about his mother? Mm-hmm. But you said that made him think about his own mother? Why do you think it did that? So he made a connection with, he put himself in the other guy's. Yes, very good, John. I know that you guys are doing this strategy now as you're reading your novels. And I just kind of wanted to take a few minutes to go back and make sure that you were giving your sticky notes justice. If you were really thinking about what your sticky notes said, if you were really making those connections and asking those questions. So what I saw going around, I was very, very pleased with. So I just want you to remember what we talked about. Transfer that over to your sticky notes when you're reading your chapter. You know, you can reference back to the chart if you need to.